When you turn on the TV, you will not have a hard time finding a news story about yet another incident between a Black community member in the United States and the police. The relationship between racialized minorities and police in many US cities is extremely strained and difficult. Trust is low. And that is problematic for a number of reasons, but also because we know that trust in the police and belief that law enforcement agencies are legitimate is key to community safety. Believing that law enforcement agencies are just and fair is the prerequisite for cooperation with the police on any possible topic. In the words of one EPS officer in my study, the real work is in the good times. We need to work on our community ties in good times so that we can work with the community together when the bad times come. In our project with 301 young Somali Canadians here in Edmonton, aged 16 till 30, a community that has received much negative media attention on a number of issues, and 57 police officers across all ranks and divisions of the Edmonton Police Services, we examined how successful community relationship building is in our city. And as a criminologist who is used to the negative news on police and their treatment of racialized minority members, I was quite surprised to see our findings. As you can see on this slide, when we ask our Somali Canadian participants who discriminates against them in our city, police officers came up as the least likely source of discrimination. In fact, police officers are less likely to discriminate against our participants than teachers, members of the general public like you and me, or co-workers. Now, you may say, of course, that this isn't surprising because our participants have probably more interactions with teachers and members of the general public. However, our participants were allowed to tick off as many boxes as they wanted on the survey, so they could have theoretically mentioned teachers and police officers as people who discriminate against them. You may also say that we kind of cherry-picked participants who have little police interaction. Well, I can also alleviate that concern because 7 out of 10 of our participants had some kind of police interactions within 4 weeks prior to participating in the interview. However, before you think that I have only good news to tell about the relationship between the police and the community we were studying, let me point out that just because you don't call your neighbor a swear word every time you see him doesn't necessarily mean that you actually love your neighbor. And likewise, over 70% of our Somali Canadian participants pointed out that a difficult relationship with the EPS is a key issue for their community, as is, for example, the number of unsolved homicides of community members. So it is a very difficult relationship, and a lot of work remains to be done. To end on a good and very promising note, though, 81%, and that is a huge number when you think about it, of the young people in our study are interested in building stronger partnerships with the EPS. The difficult relationship that they pointed to has not led them to disengage. Quite the contrary, they are actually hungry to be involved. And in the words of one of our participants, we want a piece of the pie. We are currently not at the table, we are just on the menu. So the willingness to engage and get better at community police relationships was also echoed by nearly all of our police participants. And it is in this willingness to engage on both sides that I see tremendous potential for our city. Thank you.